Good evening. Ira Epstein with your financial market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for the evening of Monday, the 23rd of June, 2025, just getting on to 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And maybe 30 minutes ago, President Trump announced a ceasefire. So let me take you right to the news. Ceasefire announced between Iran and Israel. And he says that he is announcing that they have agreed, both parties, to a complete and total ceasefire to begin in stages, beginning at midnight tonight, so they can still attack each other until then. And he's assuming that if this works as it should, it will lead to more peace between the two countries, and he gives them both credit for having stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what he calls now the 12-day war. Whoa. So we have gone from the United States bombing Iran, when's the last time we did anything like that? We don't know how much damage our MOP bombs did. All those centrifuges could still be there. I don't know. Do you know? We haven't heard a word. And now he's got a ceasefire. So he's a magician, all right? I mean, any way you want to cut it. He goes in, he does that. Congress is calling for his head. He's managing to find a way for these two countries to stop temporarily. I don't know if you can get to a treaty without first addressing a bunch of other issues. And I cover that in my report tonight. So if you have not seen my newsletter, you want to. I spent a good part of the afternoon writing the steps that it would have to take. Where's all that uranium that was enriched? I mean, I cover a lot of details. In the morning at 7:30, you're going to get the current account deficit data, 7:30. 7:55, Redbook Group will come out with their weekly retail sales. Case-Shiller, the 20 metro home area prices for April. This is always delayed, and that'll come out in the morning at 8 o'clock. The Richmond Fed, their monthly manufacturing index, will come out at 9. The Conference Board is going to come out with their consumer confidence index. That'll come out at 9 o'clock. You're going to have Federal Reserve Chair Powell speaking now before the U.S. House Financial Services Committee. This is going to be a bloodbath day. They're going to ask what's going on, where are we with the budget? I can go on and on and on. How does the Fed view? Now, the Fed doesn't control the budget. The Fed controls two things, and two things only. Labor, trying to make that a full employment, and inflation, trying to rein it in. But you know he's going to get beaten up about high mortgage rates. You know he's going to get beaten up by the fact that, are they going to get it right? Are they going to be able to cut in time? Other countries are all cutting. What are we doing to our economy? I can go on and on. The API numbers will come out at 3:30. But obviously the news is what took place all weekend when Saturday night, I'm sure when you saw that the U.S. was bombing and who wasn't watching TV, I was rotating all the channels going, oh, what do you do? Even my son called me and said, what do you think of oil? I said, I wouldn't touch it for all the money in the world. I said, people that play it in futures can get annihilated, up or down tomorrow. I think that was pretty good advice. He and I both agreed if you play it, you got to play it with options. Don't write them. You either bought a put, call, whatever you're going to do. And that might have saved you, because early in the morning, had you bought puts, my God, you would have been doing pretty darn good. Now, we have now 3 Fed members, 3 of them, Goolsbee, Michelle Bowman, and is it Waller? They've all come out and they say they are open to July rate cuts. That's brand new. Now, the percentage numbers are still under 30% tonight if you go to the CME Fed Watch page for the probabilities, but you're starting to see the breaks away, and some want to get ahead of what they perceive to be a curve. The gold, obviously, this news that you're getting right now on potential peace, a ceasefire, dropping the heck out of the gold. So this market's getting hit. Silver's also been getting hit. Now I'm moving to the SEP silver, the September copper, and the October platinum at this point. That's what I want to cover. Dollar was down. Most currencies trying to gain a bit against the dollar right now, and obviously stock indices higher. So when we come to the stock indices, this is still your contract high close on the weekly chart, 61, 62.50 in the futures. We'll see if we can get there. We're not far. We're now 57 points away. That's not much. When you come to the September daily chart, 62.88 is the current high. Here you're a bit further away. That's still When you look at it, another 170 points, roughly? That's a lot of points you'd have to go up. When you look at the index here, you've just taken out that high. I had this for you with double highs coming down. You just snuck that out. You can see you got to 61.13 and the prior high had been 61.08.5. So now you have a lower low and a higher high. You've ended this down leg. It sounds crazy to say how fast it went, but that's what it did. And now where you're at is you're caught in, let's see if, did I miss one? Yeah, here's the moving averages. What you did is you fell down to the 200-day moving average of closes. So as the market slipped back, it closed on Friday underneath everything. It fell to right here, and it came roaring back with a vengeance. And now with the Bollinger Band, you can see you've gone literally from the Bollinger Band top to the Bollinger Band bottom and the 200-day average. That's powerful. And if you take my course on enhanced Bollinger Bands, it's at iraepstein.com. I teach you how to work with that. And before that was even hit, you'd have known. What do you do if you hit that? Well, if you're not embedded, you're covering your shorts. It's what I teach. In the NASDAQ, here's your high up here. Now you're coming into the resistance of the upper Bollinger Band, and you're overbought. So I think the market could have a harder time getting through on this chart. I'd be very cautious of it up here. In the Dow, you can see momentum turned up. Again, you hit the Bollinger Band on Friday and today, came roaring back. You're out of your downtrend. I think you're caught in sideways bands right here. And I can say the same in the Russell. The momentum trying to turn up, the market came down. This market hasn't been able to get to a Bollinger Band since going back to April. But what it has been hitting and playing with is the 100-day average in green and the 18-day average. Are we in a trend per se? Not really. You have a lower low, higher high. You're still caught in the bands. The momentum is pointing to the upside. We'll see if it can build on itself. In the DAX, when we were up here and starting down, when we had lost the embedded reading, I said if you drop and stay under this 18, you might get to the Bollinger Band. Go back on the videos, you'll see. That's what you've been doing. You've been running it for 4 days, and today you bounced away, and notice the rally falling just short of hitting the 18-day average of closes in the red. In the bond market, got to be careful with what the Fed chair is going to say tomorrow. So we want to see what it's all there. Obviously, bonds got a bid today, as we kept hearing. The moment Michelle Bowman said that, it was 9 in the morning. You just saw the bond market make a move, and that was it. So this started off as safe haven play, and then it got fuel for the fire with the possibility that maybe some of the Fed members, 3 of them now, in favor of a July cut at this point in time. They always cover their butt by saying as long as the data stays as it is, they don't see why not. They're open to it. Same in the 5-year note. Notice you got to the Bollinger Band and you stopped. First challenge of it. In the dollar index, couldn't quite make it to that number. You got 8 points away from it, and then you had this monster reversal. I mean, that basically is a 108-point range. That's a big range. The market, to me, is still in the middle of no man's land. I don't see a trend that's happening in that. In the euro, you have to get back over the 116.85.5 level. You're not there yet, but that would negate the pattern of lower highs, lower lows. But notice where the market went to when you lost the bullish embedded reading. You finally fell back to the 18-day average on Friday, and that stopped the break. You hear me say that to you over and over and over. Now we look at the British pound. You've gone from the top of the market, the upper Bollinger Band, to the bottom for the past 4 or 5 days, and now the market's over the 18-day average. You've had a big reversal. It is not trending. It's whipping itself back and forth right in that area. We then take a look at the micro Bitcoin. I think today was the low in the Bitcoin on this break. I think that you're going to look back and say that that lower Bollinger Band was the support. The market, if we come back a day here, let's see if I can do that. I can. You can see the market just got under the 100,000 level, and then it tried turning, but it just kept holding that number, and now the question is, can it poke through? Very shortly, We will be leaving finally the June and we'll move into the next contract month here. But this trades right up to the last minute when before it expires. It's all cash settlement. When you look here at the crude, I want you to look at the size of the range that you had today in Brent. You went from 81.40 to 69.54. And what did the market do? Well, if you take a look at it, it opened at 80.01. So it opened all the way up here at the Bollinger Band, went up another 100 points, and just let go. None of my work was screaming that it's embedded. So this has been a run. This is that gorilla glue trade where it ran with it, and the market just couldn't hold on. Do I think you're going to just crash? Well, you've got a lot of war premium in this market. It can certainly break some more from here. You can see tonight what you're doing. You're coming into more support. This is not a bull market anymore. It's now a higher high, lower low, and it needs to restructure, in my opinion. And I see the same in WTI. They're no different. Again, you lost all the bullishness in the market, and now you've got to restructure. Whenever you get moves like this, be careful. For the president, he gave you, and he's trying to give you, if this peace holds up, a gift for your July 4th driving holiday. Look at what you did. You went from $2.39 a gallon to $2.10 in the gasoline today. 10% drop for all purposes. In the nat gas, I warned you, you get this hot weather, you'd go up, but I also said, remember, it's a futures market. You never did embed. You got overbought to the upper Bollinger Band, the 100-day average. I wasn't friendly from there. We'd see if the weather's up. New York's going to be near 100 tomorrow. And you'll say, it's got to rally. Well, first of all, it's still in an uptrend. Higher lows, higher highs. But it's back into support, and the profits have been made. So do I think we're going back up here? Not unless we get a forecast, a new one that comes out, where this weather near 95 to 100 lasts. 85, 90-degree weather, it's summer. Yes, it'll cause natural gas usage. It should. Weather gets normal. So you pay attention to things like that. I talk about this and so much more when you get our futures trading kit. It really teaches you a lot of what we're doing right here. So when you get the kit, you're going to have the charting software that I use. You got chapters to get you going with all the trading or refreshing yourself. It talks about charting. It's tools for the beginner, tools for the expert. You're going to see there's 14 chart patterns, popular ones, and how they typically, the word is typically, not always, typically try to resolve themselves. Then you get a couple of courses, my pivot point course and the time price course, the Arun indicator. The cause and effect. I wrote this when Volcker was a Fed chair. And I had to understand M1, M2, M3, and I teach it to you how that's all going through here. The CME group, they have so many different courses for you to take. You can learn a lot. You go to iraepstein.com, free offers. You'll see up here our icons. Give them a click. We'll see how things work. What we all want to do is wake up in the morning and see, did the ceasefire between Iran and Israel actually grab hold, and are they observing it? At some point, they got to get tired of hitting each other. If the nuclear weapon is gone, you're never going to get Iran's regime, Israel, to say, we're going to embrace you. They don't want you in the Mideast. However, if they don't have a nuclear weapon, it's about as good as you're going to get right now. I'm Ira Epstein. You have yourself a great evening. I'll catch up with you all in my morning update and, of course, my other videos tonight. Take care.